Hey, Rolling 20 fans, this is G, and I'm here to tell you today about a new sponsor for our show, Casey's Irish Pub. This is an honest-to-God Boston or Chicago-style Irish pub located in downtown Los Angeles. They serve cooked food, 11 kinds of beer, and 49 different Irish whiskeys from 3 different distilleries. What does that mean? That means if you're looking for a good drink during a Los Angeles convention, you don't have to go far. If you're headed to Los Angeles for E3, Kamikaze, Anime Expo, the Los Angeles Car Show, or one of the hundreds of events happening near the Staples Center, then a good meal and a glass of Guinness is just a short walk away. Jeremy, the loud guy who won't shut up when we do our own podcast, he actually ate there during the last Anime Expo. And he said this. Forgive me if I don't sound like the guy. I went to Casey's Pub looking for a place to bring people for a good night of food and found it when I was driving people on my way back to the Los Angeles Convention Center. We went back and I had the best steak pot pie in my life down there. My wife had a good whiskey to sip, and 8 of us had fun talking and eating in a place that looked like it belonged in a movie. Casey's just a couple of blocks from the Westin Bonaventure. That means it's close to one of Anime Expo's own shuttle stops. We're even hosting a photo shoot there during the 2014 Anime Expo. If you want more details on that, email us at mspfreight@yahoo.com. Hey, so do yourself a favor. And don't stock up on bad beer and try to mix something sitting at the desk of your hotel room. Ride the elevator, get off at the Bonaventure, and walk to Casey's Irish Pub to get some drinks by their bartenders. Make some new memories and have some fun. We want to see you there.
Hello, everybody. This is Anthony Bjorn for another edition of the Conover. There's been a break, in the past few weeks, but as convention season starts rolling a bit more toward the summer, we'll be a lot more busier and a lot more Conover podcasts to be recorded. With me tonight,
I'm going to put on my general cap when it comes to July. I got a lot of crap happening.
with me, as the man talking right now, is Jeremy.
Hey.
And Jeremy is our con reporter that we sent over to Long Beach for Long Beach Comic Expo.
Yeah.
So tell me, Jeremy, how was the convention?
If you're looking for an overview, it's not a big show. Anybody that's been to Long Beach knows that they have an interesting convention hall, but it's not a huge place. But it has something weird going for it that's kind of hard to put your finger on in any given moment.
So I remember reading in some of your report that it was a more intimate experience in terms of how the convention was.
Yeah, it's much easier to find people when you only have one hall to wander to. There's nothing happening at the Associated Hotel. There's not a whole lot happening outside because there was another event going on upstairs that took over the entire upper floor. So if you're looking for somebody, you're more than likely going to find them. But what really kind of struck me were the panels. The panels, because of a smaller convention, all happen in smaller rooms. And, I was at a distance where I was sitting 3 rows back from Richard Hatch from Battlestar Galactica talking about one of his latest projects. And if I wanted to throw something, I could have been a dead-eye shot right at the guy.
I see. Okay. So it's more of a I wouldn't say small con experience, but kind of like a mid-size type of deal. I guess I'm kind of looking at right now.
I would actually put it in a small con experience, but with guests more worthy of a mid-size con. Which doesn't sound like a compliment, but it is. I mean, they got guests that I would not expect of a show of a few thousand people.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay. So it was, how many days was it? Was it a 1 day or was it a A
It was a
weekend?
two-day affair, Saturday and Sunday.
Okay. What were by our chance? What were the price for the badges for that weekend?
You know what? I didn't really find out. I was absolute last second when it came to this convention.
Mhm.
I found out about it the Sunday before it was going to occur, like 6 days before they were supposed to open doors. And on a lark, I just said, well, okay, they probably passed their press thing. So I sent them an email just asking if they happen to have anything else available, and all they said is, oh, come on down, we'll get you a badge. Just come right through the door. It's like, oh, frick. So all of a sudden I have to, I got to find my travel pack, and I got to find my gear, and I got to make sure I have the clothes that, that aren't supposed to be in storage during the summer months, and, just get myself ready to go.
Oh man, it's like it's like going to a restaurant. So it's like, oh, well, there's a cheesecake. I'm not gonna really bother. No, you can have it. Like, oh, shit.
That's almost exactly what happened. They have another convention they're doing in the fall, Long Beach Comic Con this September. I'm going to guess the prices are similar, and for one day, for the Saturday, it's $30. For the Sunday, it's $25, or for all weekend, it's $50 plus processing.
I see. Gotcha. Interesting. That's cool though. That's pretty awesome. Speaking of, how was the staff there at Long Beach?
Friendly but undertrained. I keep using the Anime Expo as my meter because I've gone to that for 20 plus years, which tells you how old I freaking well am. But Anime Expo they tend to have enough bodies that I can see, but they don't seem to show them anything about how to do anything. The volunteers for Long Beach Comic Con, they had about the same amount of answers, in other words, little to none, but they were more helpful about pointing me out as to where to find the proper answers. They would actually say, I need to take you to see him, or would you mind talking to that guy for just a minute? I'm very sorry. They were extremely polite.
Okay. So they were more than willing to help out, but just were not informed enough in terms of where certain things were.
Yeah, that could have just been first day jitters. I mean, in a venue that small, I didn't need many volunteers once I found my way around, so I didn't have a cause to speak to many of them.
I see. Is this convention relatively new, or has this been around for a while?
I really don't know. I've heard of it for the last few years since, disappeared. Wizard World Long Beach stopped happening back in, I want to say 2007, 2008.
Mm-hmm.
But I hadn't heard of any replacements till just last year, and even then, it was so infrequently that I was able to look at smaller cons that it never really came up in my thought process. Then just looking through the internet for news, I found their page again and just sent them an email, and all of a sudden everything was on like Donkey Kong,
Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. Awesome. So, like, the venue, like, where was the venue exactly? Where was that exactly at?
The Long Beach Convention Center actually happens just off a small harbor, or I should say the Long Beach Convention Center exists just off a small harbor. If you're looking for it by streets, it's on Ocean Street near Pine, right there in downtown Long Beach.
Okay.
It's one of those areas that has a bevy of restaurants and small nightclubs and other places meant to draw people in and spend money in a picturesque area. You walk to the south end of the convention center across the street, and you're right there, pretty much Bayside.
Okay. That's cool. So there's definitely... Oh, you know what? I think I know what you're talking about, actually.
Did you go to Anime Expo in 2007?
No. I have an uncle that lives in Long Beach, and I took I walked down to the transit there, not the bus, but the rail system.
Mm-hmm.
I took it 1 year from there to Anime Expo 1 year. I think it was like back in 08 or 09.
Okay.
But yeah, memory serves me right. So that convention center, is that you say it's near, like, pretty much the bay right there, right?
Yeah, it's next to an entertainment complex called the Pike.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about. Okay, gotcha. Okay, that's cool. I can imagine, like, for for people who are in cosplay, for more of the summer wear, would probably be using that location or nearby for any, like, photography pretty well.
It's nice in that regard, with one exception. They've pretty much laid out the entire thing. They tried to put the patio on this even scale, but there's almost no trees out there. So if the sun is a problem of yours, if you have sensitive skin, wear lotion, wear a hat, cover up your arms because there's almost zero coverage outside.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, that there's no trees out there.
Yeah.
It's nice to walk, like maybe during the evening or night. But
Oh, it's bright, it's gorgeous. Don't get me wrong, I like walking around there during the day and everything. But yeah, if you burn easily, cover that shit up.
Yes. Short story. I went to Cherry Blossom Festival in 2007, 2008. It was a long time ago. Anyways, I dressed up as Black Star from Soul Eater, and I went and you could meet up all the other cosplayers before we went to the parade. I did not wear any lotion on my arms, and my arms were bare as they can be. And I was in the parade, and it was like during that time it usually is pretty hot, and the sun's really beating down on you. I came back home, and like my arms were so sunburned, like it hurt just to take a shower. I was like, ah. So lesson everybody, cosplayer, kids, adults, always wear sunscreen. If your cosplay it has some part of a body that is shown, if it's very hot or if the sun's beating down on you. I've learned the hard way, multiple times. So yes.
Yeah.
But getting back to the Long Beach Comic Expo, speaking of cosplayers, did you happen to kind of check out any of the cosplayers that were there? Like anyone that particularly stood out to you?
A few. I saw one of the few Spider-Gwens I've seen since that comic series started up, or since the character was introduced.
Mm-hmm.
I also saw a Silk for the first time from, which is another Spider-Man spin-off these days.
Mm-hmm.
There's more than a couple Harley Quinns. It seems like when you come to comic book conventions, Harley Quinn is almost becoming a mainstay when it comes for girls dressing up.
It's funny because I think of like in terms of comic book conventions, I think Harley Quinn is like the Chun-Li of like conventions, where eventually like every other cosplayer like cosplays as Chun-Li as a female or male, either or. But I feel like Harley Quinn is like eventually every girl who goes to comic conventions dresses up as her at one point or another. But that's cool. But I cannot talk tonight. At this con, like the dealers hall, like because normally at anime conventions they have a huge dealers hall or somewhat of a room for just a dealers hall, but for comic conventions it's very different. For this one, was it kind of like say like WonderCon or Comic Con in terms like it's like all in one hall combined, where you have the dealers hall, but also mixed in with like the panels or anything of that nature?
The dealer's hall was mixed in with where they were holding celebrity signatures and where they were doing laser tag, but that's about it. There wasn't a whole lot else that they put in that particular room. Panels were held separately, thankfully.
Wait, go back for a second. Did you say laser tag?
Yeah, they brought in a laser tag people with these inflatable barricades. They call it their Star Wars laser tag extravaganza. I didn't see a whole lot that was Star Wars about it. That may have just been excused, but at the same time, it was just laser tag. Here? Oh, freaking cool!
Yes, that is. Oh, that's so cool. Wait, so okay, that's pretty awesome. Was there a line or a bunch of people wanting to get into the laser tag when you were there?
There was a regular amount of people that were going in and out of there. I wouldn't call it a line. It just seems like as people were walking by, if there happened to be nobody doing it, then a group of people jumped in and started doing it.
That's awesome. That's pretty cool. Oh man, that'd be great to have at a convention. That'd be great. Oh man. What was it? So the panels you were talking about earlier, how were the panels?
The panels were surprisingly good. No lie, I'm not a huge panel person. When I'm at a convention, the idea of sitting still for a little while kind of drives me insane.
Mm-hmm.
After all, I paid somewhere between $50 and, depending on where I go, near $200 to go do something for a while. I want to go do something.
Mm-hmm.
But the panels here actually had a nice variation to them. I sat in on a panel of voice actors from the original G.I. Joe cartoon. I saw a panel of voice actors of women in animation. I saw a panel regarding the homage project Star Trek Axanar. And I sat on a panel with legendary Marvel scribe Chris Claremont.
Nice, awesome. Wow. So from your point of view, like you really enjoy the panels, like overall.
Yeah, that was actually an interesting group of things, and each one had a very different feel. It doesn't feel like the mill of panels you sometimes get at larger conventions or at anime conventions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of at anime conventions especially, you tend to get a lot of the same subjects.
Mm-hmm.
You know, regarding cosplay, what animes are coming out, and little entertainment projects. In regards to comic conventions, they tend to deal a little bit more with history, variety, the view of different types of fans, and they also tend to deal with new things as well.
Gotcha.
And in this case, I saw sci-fi cons or sci-fi panels. I saw comic panels. I saw star panels. They had one panel that was just a history of Robotech, for crying out loud.
Sick. That's awesome. In terms of the people there at the con, now for people who don't know, the kind of age range and kind of like different atmosphere of what a comic convention versus an anime convention. Anime conventions are more skewed towards younger audience, and you get a lot.
Yeah, anime conventions, their crowd is about young to mid-20s, ideally.
Mm-hmm.
Comic conventions tend to skew more towards somewhere between late 20s and early 40s, really.
Yeah, and it's a lot more of a chill atmosphere. A lot more relaxed. People are, I mean, everybody's friendly at any con for the most part, but like, specifically at comic conventions, like there are more mature adults walking around than you would see at anime conventions. And or go ahead.
It's a lot less fangirling and squealing in aisles. It's a lot less of absolute shock at finding one thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it tends to be more of just a bunch of quiet people going, yeah, I could really grab that. Check this out.
Yeah, definitely. Like my only like inclination, at least from the last comic book convention I've been to, was, well, I take that back. I did go to Wizard World in Sacramento, and that was, but that was a little different. But my best inclination of going to an official was WonderCon when it was still in San Francisco, and I was walking around, and then I was like surprised at how like relaxed everything was. Everybody was like more mature, more adult. There was less like younger kids that I'm used to at anime conventions, and it was like, it was like nothing to them, and to me, I'm like kind of surprised, like what's going on? Why isn't there a kid yelling and screaming down the hall? What's going on? But that's cool though. That's the one thing I like about comic conventions.
Well, we'll see what you say about it once you go to your first Southern California Comic Convention this year.
Oh yes, that's gonna be like, I mean, that's the mecca of comic conventions. Comic Con in San Diego is like, it's like going back to the motherland. And I said this, I think, to a few other friends. It's like, if you're a nerd and you're really into comics and video games and anime and whatnot, I feel like you got to go to like at least two locations in your lifetime. One is home of the best comics, or like the biggest comic convention in the U.S. Is San Diego Comic Con, and two is Japan, because Japan's the home of anime and other cool stuff there, and cosplay. Well, not cosplay, but like games.
You should add a third to that, because from what I hear, Dragon Con is the end-all be-all of sci-fi cons.
Oh yes, of course. Dragon Con is like the final boss of conventions. It is like, Dragon Con is like going to heaven if you're a convention goer, and it's like every other, like, if you're into something, it's there. Like from what I've seen in videos and everything associated with that convention. Oh man, I want to go one day. One day I'll go. Eventually we'll go to that convention. It'll be awesome. But getting back to Long Beach, so memory serves me right. The convention center is pretty nearby some food locations that should be no problems.
It's a little bit of a problem because there are a few places there that are open earlier, but the average hotel in the area doesn't open until about 11 a.m. So you need to have breakfast plans well in place. It took me a couple minutes of looking through my phone trying to figure out which restaurants were open early, and I had to walk, I don't know, I'd say about half a mile from the convention center. Not anything terribly far, but if you're disabled at all, that's a pain in the ass.
I see. Where did you go to for your breakfast?
I found this this cafe place that was connected to a Holiday Inn or something of that nature,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a little pricey. You know, I sat down and had like a steak and egg omelet and some fresh fruit, and the retail on it was like just under $14.
Hmm.
But at the same time, it was like like an upscale version of a Greasy Spoon. It was small. It was quiet. You know, I sat at a bar, had my food in like 12 minutes.
That's wow. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I was done with it by 20, and the guy kept asking, "You need anything else? You want any more cranberry juice?" It's like, dude, there's other people here, you know.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty cool.
Now, and I don't mean that by saying, he was giving me the eyes, "Hey, sailor," or anything like that. I mean, he was way too attentive for what I consider to be average service. You know, he was freaking me out a little bit because he was too good at it.
Right. Okay. What was the name of that restaurant again? Just for anybody who was like wondering, do you want to go to there?
I won't lie, I do not remember. I think it was called the Breakfast Bar.
Okay. Awesome. So did Long Beach Comic Expo, did that have a masquerade there?
They did, but I didn't get to attend it. I was bouncing around between a few different things, and there was the Chris Claremont panel, which was running late that evening.
Mm-hmm.
So I did not make it. And since I was the only one there from the website, I was running into that trouble I run into sometimes where I'm spreading myself too thin.
Right. Gotcha. Okay.
The added problem was because I found out about it and got accepted so late, the convention hotel was sold out, so I had to make alternative arrangements to stay in the area.
Oh, right. Gotcha. Yeah, that does throw a wrench into plans. Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely does. But that's cool. In terms of did you like as far as the quote unquote dealers hall, or just like the entire convention itself, like did you buy anything like when you were there? Like, did you check out some stuff that you wanted to buy but just really can't because money stuff? Or
there was a surprising amount for a smaller convention that I actually did want to buy. Some of it had to do with the fact that there was a couple artists there I have been following and fans of for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And they were selling prints, which were like $20 each, which is, all well and nice, but there was that idea of, God, I got to go to Comic-Con this summer, so maybe I should hold off on that. But then as I was looking over their list, they both offered the same thing. For X amount of dollars, they'll do personal sketches for you.
Nice.
So I was looking at that just going, I could totally do that, but I left my sketchbook back home because I didn't think I'd need it.
Yeah.
But I didn't come away with nothing. There was a couple toy dealers there that unfortunately know me by face because I keep running into them at anime conventions and comic conventions.
Funny.
So ended up talking Transformers for a little bit. Didn't buy anything, but came close to pulling that trigger. I did buy a couple graphic novels from one booth that I tend to frequent at comic conventions. They happen to be there, and I needed some stuff to round out my recent Avengers history.
Gotcha. Cool. Awesome.
So there was stuff to buy. I actually got to play test a game by this company. I think they called, I have a business card here, Phoenix Fire. They make mobile games.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And they make mobile and Steam games, and they just got something greenlit. I think it was called Smash Derby. It was kind of like a takeoff of older arcade games from the late 90s.
I see.
And chatted with them for a little while. Good group of guys.
Cool. How was the game?
The game was surprisingly entertaining. It's a simple idea of if you're single player, you have one ship, and they'll send in all these other ships at random. You hit them once with your ship, and they will, they'll be damaged, and they'll either, if you don't hit them fast enough to kill them, they'll start flashing, and then they're kind of like rolling mines.
Right.
Which is an interesting idea. You can pick up wrenches to repair your ship, or you can pick up cash, but you have to hit a corresponding button on your controller to make your color match theirs to do any damage. Then there's the 4-player version where colors do not matter. All you have is a dash, but of course the flashing ships can still explode and take you out. And, the guy that racks up the most points or survives the longest wins.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Unfortunately, they told me as they were testing out a 4-player, it was me and 3 of the devs playing, that the highest they'd ever seen is 77. One of their devs got that, and nobody's been able to match it.
Mm-hmm.
I walked away at 89.
Did they give you just like the death stare afterwards? It's like, you bastard.
No, it was a conversation as I was the only one for a good 4 minutes still in the game, and I just heard, "What's the highest score that we've ever gotten?" They said, "Well, he got a 77, so that's the highest we've ever gotten." And as soon as it was over, all they said is, "So you playing again?" It's like, "No, I think I'm okay, thank you."
Oh man, watch it. Like they'll email you. It's like, hey, can you come test our game for us?
It's like 15 minutes, damn near making friends, and all of a sudden it's just, "Who's this guy?"
Hilarious. So, outside of everything else, I guess overall thoughts on Long Beach Comic Expo, unless I'm missing something in terms of what else to talk about.
It's a very positive experience. It has a couple of organizational hiccups. Not everything ran smoothly. A good example would be they're supposed to open the doors at 9, but for some reason, half the booths weren't even set up by the time the doors opened. And that was very obvious. There was a couple of the vendors complaining that they just didn't know things opened this early. There were a couple others that just said, "I'm used to sleeping at this point in the day."
Right.
But I got the overall impression that there was either a lack of communication as to when the vendors could come in to set up, or a lack of communication to tell the vendors when they'd be opening the doors.
Okay.
And those are simple things to overcome, though. It just takes a little more communication, and that can be easily fixed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I will say that the overall time, though, was astonishingly positive. I can actually share with you an embarrassing story with one of my favorite artists.
Oh, go on.
There's a guy named Todd Knock. He did his early work for Image Comics. Then he ended up working on Marvel for several projects, including X-Men books.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm well aware of this individual. He's currently helping finish up the Nightcrawler series. When I saw his booth there, I wanted to talk to him for a few minutes because I remembered him since his very early work in a series called The New Men. And I got surprisingly nervous. I started to ramble a little bit, and he just shook my hand. He said, "How you doing?" I said, "Oh, man, great. I've been a fan of yours a long time, And he just says, "Oh, yeah." And I said, "Yeah, Newman." He says, "Oh, well, nice to meet you, Newman." No, wait. And that was my literal response was, "No, wait." So I just said, no, "Jeremy." "What?" "My name is Jeremy." "Oh, Jeremy Newman. Got it." "No, wait."
That is great.
Believe it or not, I got saved by the most unlikely of individuals because that's when his wife punched him in the arm and said, "No, you idiot. He's followed you since The New Men." Oh, so you've been there since the beginning. Yeah, I think I've already lost this battle. Thank you.
That's awesome. That is...
You want to know what was worse? Later that day, Chris Claremont's panel was up, and I was in the front row because, Claremont was there when I really first started reading comics and the X-Men and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he brings this artist, Todd Knock, out on the stage with him because he doesn't like doing panels by himself. And as soon as Knock is introduced, he sits down in his chair, looks around, sees me in the front row, and he goes, "Hey, Newman!" No. No.
That's great. Now you share something special with him now. Forever known, you'll be known as Newman.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's going to Comic-Con too. I can just imagine walking by that booth and hearing, "Hey, Newman!" It's like, oh.
No, here's gonna happen.
No.
Here's gonna happen when you walk by his booth. He's gonna look at you, and then he's gonna call you Newman, but he's doing it in Seinfeld style. So he's like, "Hello, Newman."
The worst thought, though, is that I plan to actually take my sketchbook and ask him to do a sketch for me during that weekend, and if he signs it Newman, I'm going to frickin' die.
That'd be great. That'd be awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Jeremy, for joining me on this podcast to talk about everything Long Beach Comic Expo.
No problem.
Before we go, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me doing our weekly podcast, The Rolling 20s, in regards to comic books on our website. You can follow us on Twitter at The Rolling 20s. If we get 100 Twitter followers, we can get Peter David and Nathan Barnett to come on the show at different times, obviously. Also, we have a special guest coming March 15th. We're going to talk to a guy who's starting an independent comic series called Notes. And also on May 3rd, I can announce that we're having Bill Ratner on the show. He was the voice of Flint in G.I. Joe.
Yay! That's awesome. That's pretty sick.
We're also working on trying to get some additional voice artists from the show. There's at least one who's contacted me talking about interest.
Sweet. Awesome. Woo! Yay.
And if you're walking around WonderCon, Fanime, Anime Expo, or San Diego Comic-Con, you might actually see my bald head wandering around.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Yeah, we'll definitely be out there in full force this year in convention coverage, and the year has only begun. For me, if you can follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at Defective Naruto. You can follow the work that me and Jeremy do on our website at missionstartpodcast.com. Like Jeremy said, you can check out his podcast, The Rolling 20s, on our website, also on iTunes and Stitcher. And you can also follow this podcast as well on the website, which is also on iTunes and Stitcher. So please, guys, go check it out. Spread the word. Subscribe. Do whatever you want to spread the word. That's going to do it for us for this week. Until then,